the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's
The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to the Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephas and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of the Bitchspot Report. Welcome back to the Bitchspot Report, the atheist conservative podcast that dares to ask the question, what the hell is wrong with you people? Every week we take on the religious and political news of the day in a hopefully entertaining, incisive, and fun manner. So let's join episode 39 of the podcast, already in progress. Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Hey, you sound much better this week.
Yeah, made an interesting Windows 8 discovery. Apparently I was recording through my laptop microphone, not my regular broadcast microphone. And, that was funny. I am becoming less of a fan of Windows 8 since I've got it. I don't know. Apparently the built-in app, there was no way to change in the app what microphone to use. So I had once I figured out that's what was going on. And then when you shut off the computer, everything defaults back to, the, laptop microphone, laptop speakers. And, didn't realize that was going on until, someone pointed it out to me that it sounded like crap. And,
Yeah.
So, hopefully this is working now.
Yeah, you sound much, much, much better. I mean, you used to sound like you were at the bottom of a well.
And that's probably where this microphone came from. The built-in microphone came from.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we just got it fixed and it wasn't a huge deal. Didn't have to go out and buy $1,000 microphones or anything else.
Right.
So we do sound much, much better. At least I hope so. So, apologies to anybody who, over the last couple of episodes who kind of thought we sounded weird, or he sounded weird. I guess mine hasn't changed. But I think we're back and fixed and trying to provide the best sound quality, that we can. So anything else going on?
Nothing really. Yeah, work's been pretty much nuts. Still the same thing. I think they're trying to wrap up year-end projects. Oh, anything fun. There was a kind of a fun thing over the weekend. See, I do this Google online chat hangout, and it ends up going up on YouTube. And we were talking about we were talking about conspiracies and stuff like that, and had a Q&A session going on at the same time. So, people who were actually watching us, which is amazing, was asking us questions, and one of the guys I'm on with, gave a really nice explanation. I think it was on, forget what it was exactly, vaccinations or something like that. But it was really nice, concise, kind of really to the point. And the person who asked the question, was like, "But do you have to be so condescending when you answer this stuff?" And of course, we kind of chuckled, and I said, "I didn't, everyone didn't really think he was that condescending." And but it's like when you're really confident with your answer, you might come off as condescending, type of thing, where you know the answer, you're really confident in your stance. You tend to come off condescending, because I guess that happened to him the following day, and apparently he ticked off one of his family members, and this was on email lists I'm on, and same thing. So actually, we're going to try to talk about what is a skeptic, and I'm hoping to, hey, we're not assholes. We pick on the religious, and we'll pick on anybody really who are assholes, I guess. And if we sound condescending, it's not because we're just confident in our position.
Well, it's not even just confidence. It's just when you're talking to some of these crazy people, and I get it with the religious, and I'm sure you get it with the conspiracy theorist people, these people who are just demonstrably wrong. They're just completely, totally, you can prove beyond any reasonable doubt that they're wrong. And they think that anybody who tells them that they're wrong is being condescending. No, they're not being condescending. They're being factually correct. There's a difference.
Right. I don't like sounding like that. I want to be clear. It's like I'm kind of learning this stuff too, and it kind of comes out in my podcast. I'm willing to, listen to the other side, and if they can give me a good case, hey, I'll run with it, type of thing. whether or not it's accurate, I'll look into it. I have no problem. But ultimately it comes down to, well, yes, Oswald was the lone shooter at JFK, that type of stuff. You can throw whatever you want at it. It's not going to change the fact that Oswald shot Kennedy, and that's my position. And if that comes off as being smug or condescending, you're just speaking the truth. You can't escape it. And if you take it that way, because really we're not. I don't think anybody who really feels strong about a subject. And I try, when I listen to even the crazies talk, they do sound kind of condescending, but it's like, hey, they're just strong believers in what they believe in. More power to you.
Yeah.
That was the interesting part about it, was that, I don't think we're not intentional. It's not intentional that we're condescending. It's just, here's the facts. You got to deal with it, and if you don't like the way we present it, that's not a reason to say that we're wrong. If we treat you bad or whatever, hey, that's not the intention. Our intention is to get the facts out.
Yeah, well, funny this whole thing came up because just before we recorded this podcast, actually I had to stop the discussion in order to come record the podcast, but I was having a discussion with two theists on Twitter, one of which was a really cool guy, and I've talked to him before, and he's a theist, but he's not an asshole. And the other guy is just a classical religious asshole who just runs around and screams and yells and rants and calls you names and all this other nonsense. And he was running around. He didn't use the word condescending, but he kind of assumed that kind of a stance where he was basically saying, hey, you can't be telling me the facts. You can't be telling me I'm wrong. You can't be telling me my beliefs are wrong. Absolutely I can. And the other guy, I finally just stopped responding to him at all. I said, dude, if this is not the kind of discussion you want to have, take it elsewhere. And the other guy just said, yeah, goodbye. But, took him right off the mentions and that was it. But That's the kind of thing that I run into all the time. It's just these people who, they don't give a damn about the facts. They don't give a damn about reality. They don't care about anything else. They just care about their beliefs and their faith. And as soon as anybody criticizes them or shows that they're wrong or produces evidence or asks for evidence, they yell and scream and bitch and whine about how unfair the world is and how you must be a horrible, awful person because somehow you're removing their right to believe what they want to believe. Well, sorry, dude. You might have a right to believe whatever nonsense you want to believe, but that doesn't mean it stops being nonsense. And it doesn't mean anybody has any obligation to respect what you believe because you believe it. That's a really common thing for these people to say. Kind of drives me nuts, but hey, they're crazies.
Yeah. You can only do so much,
Yeah. And going back to you in that Google Plus hangout, I know I keep saying I'm going to try to get on there, but to be real honest, I never have time on the weekends. And there was a point in time when the software setup that we have that we do this podcast on, Skype said that they were going to be changing their API in December and that all of the recording software was going to stop working. And so we looked for, an alternative. And one of those alternatives I looked at was Google Hangouts. And to be real honest, Google Hangouts does not do anything that I want it to do. It forcibly posts the video on YouTube whether you want it to or not. It puts it out there unedited on any, whatever before I can even get my hands on it. So that's not anything I would want to use. But to be real honest, I don't even have a damn camera on my computer.
Yeah.
I gave my camera to my daughter. I have no interest in doing video anyway. So, I guess it's probably a good thing I'm busy on weekends.
Yeah. Yeah. The Hangouts are fun and we just sit there and we just talk. It's just like, a group of us get together and we pick a subject and talk about it. And it's, and that's what it's good for. It's good for, people just getting together. I've seen some, Ray Ortega does this podcasters roundtable. I like watching that because these are podcasters talking about podcasting and, I'm interested in, what's happening in the world and these guys they teach it, they promote it, they are podcasters themselves. So I get a little information there. So it's kind of cool, just sit around, talk, and then it's up on YouTube. So hey, I advertised my podcast on there. So it's like, apparently I'm the resident, conspiracy guy there. So, it kind of works out kind of a cross promotional thing, so
yeah.
And like I said, it's just fun and we end up off topic anyhow, and it's not a big deal for us, but like for a show like this where we kind of structure it, it does make it hard to, since you can't edit it. I mean, editing video, oh my God.
Well, I would never use the video portion anyway. The fact is that when it posts, you can't have it post privately. It has to be a public feed so that anybody can watch it. Well, I don't want anybody to watch it until I've had a chance to strip the audio out. This is an audio podcast. It's not a video podcast. I want to strip the audio out and have time to go in and edit it down, put in all of our music, do all the rest of the stuff. And that's not something you can do with Google Hangouts. It's something that is impossible to do with Google Hangouts. So I'm glad that Skype decided that they would lose a huge portion of their audience if they did that, so they changed it. So now they're no longer going to change their API, and we're going to be able to continue to do it the way that we've always done it. So,
yeah.
Well, anyway, we've gone off topic there a lot.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to go off topic even more because that's the kind of podcast that we have. The one thing that kind of bugs me about those podcasts and all that kind of stuff is that all of those people are really into the idea of making a bunch of money off their podcasts. They want to monetize their podcasts. They want to make people to contribute, give them money, sell advertising, all that stuff. So they really don't apply to the things that we're doing. We don't make a damn penny off this thing. I have not monetized the website. I have not monetized the YouTube. I don't ask for money. I don't have a donate button anywhere. I don't want your damn money. I do this because it's fun. I don't want you to send me to Hawaii. I don't want you to buy me new equipment. I don't want you to pay for my hosting costs. I don't want you to do anything. I do it because I want to do it, and I can sure as hell afford to do it. So I do it.
Yeah, that's how I handle my podcast. And I don't ask for money. All I ask is listeners.
Yep.
Listen in. If you like what you're hearing, great. If not, there's another podcast down the road. Knock yourself out. I mean, I'm very happy with that kind of setup. I mean, I like to try maybe something because I have had people ask, well, how can I support the show type of thing? And I'm like, at this point, it's like, no, I'm not going to, I don't want to take any money. I'm looking at an idea. I haven't really pursued it, but Amazon, I guess you can set up a wish list and people can buy stuff for the show through a wish list. So instead of them sending me money, I need books, I need research material. So it's like, hey, maybe I can do that. I'd like to get this book, this for the show. You spend under $10 type books, and hey, if you want to help out, hey, here's a way to help out. But I'm not going to do that yet. That's way down the road when maybe when I become famous, maybe I don't know. But
yeah.
Yeah, I like listening to the Audacity podcast, and then Dave Jackson's, what he calls his. But you see, these are guys that they're web designers, they're podcasters, I guess they're popular enough. They got affiliate links to hardware and stuff like that. Basically, their show is free. It's just that I think with the Audacity podcast, he's become he pushes a lot of his services. Hey, he does web design, all that kind of stuff, or he'll have the affiliate links, And Dave Jackson, he has like a quick start kit for podcasting. They're pushing those services. Plus they teach and they do webinars and stuff like that. They're ad heavy. I mean, especially Audacity podcast. Dave Jackson isn't as bad, but he does send me an email with quick start and I'll get you a website. All that kind of stuff. So, and I see people wanting to monetize what they do, and they use a podcast to, like demonstrate, hey, it's like saying, I know what I'm talking about, so hey, contact me, I can help you with this, or I can fix your website, I can fix your WordPress blog, or, whatever, that type of thing. I mean, there's definitely those out there, and I have a mixed feelings. I can get good information out of them. Sometimes I don't, so it's like, I kind of start listening, and if it isn't working, hey, I go to the next one type of thing.
Yeah. For this show, we're not monetized at all. We will never be, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't care how many people we have listening. If we got 1 million people listening a week, cool. That's fine. If 1 million people like what we do and want to listen to it, that's cool. I'm not going to try and make you people pay me. If people tell me they want to help the show, I'll tell you how to help the show. Tell your friends about the show. Get other people to listen to the show. That's how you help the show.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need your credit card numbers. I just want more people to listen if there are more people who want to listen. I am a member of a couple of different communities on Google Plus that are dedicated to podcasting. I joined them a long time ago. And seriously, most of them are just a complete waste of time. It's all monetize my show and shameless self-promotion. Nobody wants to talk about actually doing podcasting. Everybody just wants to say, listen to my show and send me money. It's like, fuck you people.
Yeah, I think I've only listened to those two shows for podcasting, and I won't go into any of the other ones. And there's always that, how can I monetize my show? How can I, sell my back catalog, all that kind of stuff. And it's like,
yeah, well, I mean, even worse, I'm starting to see some atheist bloggers on Twitter trying to sell their monthly blog service for 99 cents on Amazon. It's like, dude, you're writing a fucking blog. It's not worth selling. If you want to sell it, write a book. But don't go, well, I'm just going to blog and I'll sell it to you. Screw you.
No, I've never, every time I've run into those, it's like, fuck it. No way. No way am I going to, especially even like the newspapers, they plaster so many ads on those, like my local newspaper. There's all these ads on there. And then for a while they were trying to make you buy a subscription. It's like, no, you bombard me with ads. Now you want me to pay you more. I stopped using it. I'm not going to pay this extra for something you were giving away free and you're advertising anyhow. Your newspaper, just because print is dead, it does look like they still sell newspapers and they fill them with ads, and you can go online and, find these ads, you can look them up, if you want ads and so on. So why start charging for the service? I can understand like like the bigger newspapers, they may sell their older articles. I can't understand it, but the current stuff, leave that open. That's kind of like it's like a sell point. If you are trying to sell newspapers, hey, give them an online version. If they like what they're reading and what they're seeing on that, they may buy a subscription. I wouldn't, but someone else might,
Yeah, well. Anyway, we're going way, way, way off topic. And that's my fault, or partially my fault at least. So we should actually do some news.
Let's do some news. That'd be cool.
All right. And now the news. It's funny to watch children squabble. As we saw last week with the fundamentalists who are trying to attack fundamentalist Pat Robertson for not being fundamentalist enough, here we've got a similar idea. Two evangelical groups fighting over who is the most evangelical when it comes to immigration. Both are screaming, my interpretation of the Bible is better than your interpretation of the Bible. But let's be honest, is the Bible a valid tool when it comes to politics? I don't think so.
It hasn't worked in the past. Crusades, whatever, I don't know. Why argue over this, and especially over immigration? It's a touchy subject, but hey, what in the Bible tells you to be a nut job over immigration? It's like, I guess I gotta fall back on, hey, they're trying to make some money, so hey, let's say a lot of stupid stuff, and people start reading our websites and go to this and that, and we'll get a whole bunch of extra hits by being total nutbags.
Yeah, well, it's just more proof that everybody thumps their Bible differently. These are two different groups who have the same Bible, supposedly have the same reading of the Bible, and yet they completely disagree on what the Bible has to say. That's not at all surprising.
Yeah, that's kind of normal almost. Everybody interprets their books different ways, and I don't know. But it's, again, this is like one of these stupid, thumping their chest saying, hey, we got the answer here. This is our thing, and, this is what our Bible says. And it says, oh no, our Bible says, and I think just to make a lot of noise, get people in, oh, what are they saying? And go to their websites and run up their link counts, and they can get their extra penny for every time someone hits the site,
Yeah. Well, my real question is, and this is really part of the whole problem is that these evangelicals think that the answer to absolutely any question, anywhere, all the time comes out of the Bible. They can't think for themselves. They have to go running off to their Bibles anytime anything comes up. And it's really absurd when this comes up. I mean, immigration has nothing to do with the Bible. I'm sorry, it doesn't. In fact, virtually all American political life has nothing to do with the Bible. But these people just can't see beyond the Bible.
Because they can't think. And they gotta have something saying, how am I supposed to think on this? Is there something in Leviticus I can use? Or is there something in Genesis? Something in, then they find something, can't even think of whatever it could be. And, see, here it's in the Bible, the cock crowed 3 times. Yeah, that's all about immigration. Yeah, we're against it,
Yeah, it really is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it was funny because they made the point that there's no place in the U.S. Constitution for Sharia law. And I'm going, dude, there's no place in the Constitution for fundamentalist Christianity either.
Right.
It's like, yeah, why don't you just take a frickin' hike? I mean, these people are idiots. And then, it's one thing to have a rational discussion about immigration. And I think we need to do that in this country. But neither side is really being rational. Both sides are they're just both being emotional children, just kind of running around going, that's not fair, or we want to do it this way, or whatever. And they're not thinking about what they should do or shouldn't do, or what's best to do or worse to do, or what's best for the country or worse for the country. It's all a bunch of political nonsense. And we're also saying that it's all a bunch of religious nonsense.
Yeah. I don't see many of these evangelicals being the most, colorblind in this. I mean, I'm sure the real agenda is they don't like brown people, or they don't like Asian people, or they don't like whoever.
Yeah, but you gotta remember that liberals don't like white people, so it doesn't matter. They're all a bunch of racist fucks.
True. And then not to sound racist, they'll find something in the Bible. I don't understand why it has to be, or why it always ends up when there's a real discussion has to happen in this country. I mean, immigration reform, I think, needs to be discussed. You're right. This is a problem we need to address. We need to be sensible about it. But then when you get these, the lefties and the righties, they're the ones, they're the ones that'll usually scream the loudest, and they thump their Bibles or they thump their whatevers. And, it's to a point where the middle can't say anything because there's too much crap going around. So they back out, and then it's, then the crazies go on talk shows and yell at each other, and what happens? Another year goes by and no reform. They're doing everything possible not to get things done,
Well, yeah, because getting things done actually requires work, and they don't actually want to do any work. They just want to spout rhetoric.
Right.
And I think we've even done a show on immigration, and we should probably revisit that again sometime. But the fact of the matter is, nobody in Washington actually wants to accomplish anything. They're just throwing things out there that they know the other side will never accept, so that they don't actually have to do any work, but they can point fingers at the other guys and say, see, they're what's stopping us from actually getting any work done. It's all a bunch of religious and political bullshit. We all know that. So nobody wants to get immigration reform done because they don't want to look bad to any of their constituents. They want to get those votes. They want to be able to sit around and go, see, we tried. Well, you didn't try because you didn't actually do anything.
Yeah. I mean, it was just all talk. You might have gotten maybe a couple Congress critters to listen, but they couldn't get enough people together to get something going. So it just ends up being this talk, like with the, talking gun control. I mean, this has been a crazy year for that. Alex Jones and his tirade on Piers Morgan. And I've been kind of, trying to watch that as best I can because it's always been this, every time there's a shooting. I mean, there was just recently a stabbing in, Virginia. The, a state senator was stabbed by his
son. Yeah.
Yeah. And, now they're talking about cause they did a major cutback on mental health. Now there's probably going to be all this discussion about, improving mental health in Virginia, or at least then it's going to turn into this, we need more beds, and says, no, we can't afford more beds, and that whole argument, and then nothing gets done.
Yeah, but the problem is, as we've talked about on this show before, it's not mental health. It's not guns. It's not knives. It's not the availability of weapons. The one thing that ties all of this stuff together is the availability and use of a lot of these psychotropic drugs that we've been pumping into our kids and pumping into anybody who can't sleep, anybody who is ever depressed or sad or whatever. And it's being run by these drug companies who have bought and sold senators who are insisting that they get away with whatever they want to get away with because there's a lot of money in it, and you are never going to be able to convince the senators that they have to pass laws against the just widespread use of these drugs. These are what's causing people to snap and go crazy. If people had rocks, they'd snap and go crazy and throw rocks at each other. I mean, it's not the weapons, it's not the mental health, because most of these people are not crazy. They are not insane. They're fucked up, and their mental, their brain chemistry is screwed up. But that's not something we're willing to address.
What I was getting at was that because the state had cut back, the kid couldn't get when the kid was supposed to be committed for 4 hours in a mental institution, there's no room for him, so he sent him home. The kid stabs his father, pulls a gun, kills himself. That's going to generate a discussion, and honestly, it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, they're going to argue, oh, there should have been, we should have had extra hospital beds. We should have, he should have been on these drugs, or he should have been off these drugs, or, whatever the argument. And what's going to happen? Nothing. They won't expand the programs. They won't do whatever they really should be doing. And who knows? Then a few months later, something else happens. And then they go through the whole thing over again, and it keeps going. I mean, that's what's been going on with the gun control thing. These, you get the shooting in Sandy Hook, everyone goes off their rocker, nothing got done. Then you have now you got the Navy Yard shooting. Then that discussion started up again. What's going to happen? Nothing. It's just going to be each side slamming their dick on a table saying, this is what we want, or this is what we don't want, and nothing gets done.
Well, yeah, it's just going to end up being a bunch of people trying to push an agenda and using these events for ammunition against the other side. Guns didn't just magically become available when people started shooting people at schools. All right?
Yeah.
That's not the case. All right?
Right.
Knives did not just magically appear in Virginia so this kid could stab his father. That's not the cause of the crime. But you can be willing to bet that these political groups are going to be out there screaming, oh no, we have to get rid of knives, and we have to get rid of baseball bats, and we have to get rid of all this stuff, but nobody's willing to discuss the actual problem.
Well, there's that, and the fact that when they do start discussing the problems, and you start talking money now, I don't know what it costs to equip a hospital to deal with mental patients. I mean, it's maybe about the same as maybe outfitting a prison. I mean, what it costs. I mean, no one wants to take on those costs. So it's like, okay, you're on your own. And actually that's the scary thing is, I remember watching some, documentary, and they're saying, and it had to do with the jails and prisons. It says, 90% of the inmates in here have mental issues. They should be in mental hospitals. They should not be in jail because there's no place to put them. You can't lock them up in a mental institution, or you can't get them into a mental institution. They end up committing crimes. They end up in jail. And then now the jails have to deal with the mental cases. I'm not saying this is the real problem. It's just that, like in this case, that kid could have been put in for 4 hours. Now, would that have stopped him from doing it? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? We'll never know, really. But because of that, I'm sure that there's going to be discussions in Virginia about their mental health programs and their institutions, and nothing's going to happen from it. The two sides are going to argue. It's going to cost too much. But we got to think of the children, all those arguments that go back and forth. And they may try to pass a law, maybe not, or maybe pass an appropriation, whatever they try to do. And it might get shot down because there's just not enough interest in it. And then after the week or so, everyone's forgotten about it.
Well, exactly.
And until the next time something like that happens, then it's the same arguments over and over again.
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. But like I said, all they're doing is they're really trying to appropriate Band-Aids. If somebody's getting stabbed in the face with a knife, all they're trying to do is get a Band-Aid to cover up the wound. They're not trying to take the knife away from this crazy guy. They're not dealing with the actual causes of the actual problems. They're just trying to use politically correct measures to cover up the actual issues.
Right.
And that goes back to the same thing we were talking about immigration, where they don't really want to deal with the immigration problem. They just want to slap a Band-Aid on it and say, see, we did something, or make some kind of an absurd gesture, like these fundamentalist fucks, and say, see, we tried, but we couldn't do it. It's not our fault. We did our best. Well, bullshit.
Yeah. But then, and then on top of that, within a few weeks, no one's going to think about this again, When something does or doesn't happen, it's old news now. That then when the next thing comes along, and I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Will it be another shooting? Is it going to be another, whatever? And then we're off on that tangent, trying to solve that problem and going through the same contortions,
Yep.
And it never ends. No one wants to. I guess you can't take control. God, government trying to take control. They can't even get a website up and running.
Yeah, well, they're not that bright, especially this administration.
Oh man, I'll stay on topic. I can go off on the Obama site.
I can too, but we won't this week. We'll do that later.
Yeah,
I'm cool with doing that sometime, but not this week.
Not this week.
Anyway, we've been off topic long enough. Let's go ahead and do your first story.
Oh yeah, my first story. Soy story. Atrocious reporting on insular religious groups. Multiple news outlets, including The Independent, Huffington Post, and Slate, recently linked to a story originally posted in English on yourjewishnews.com, claiming that Hasidic group banned soy products because they led to homosexual sex. The problem with this outlandish story is that it was completely unverified. None of the outlets actually interviewed or did any on-the-ground investigation. And ultimately the story was retracted, but the damage had already been done. Misreporting on insular religious societies like the Amish or Hasidic Jews may be due to a number of issues, from the difficulty of contacting individuals for interviews to the fact that insular communities are less likely to challenge a story, or just as likely it may be due to the biases about obscure religious customs and practices that predispose outsiders, which journalists and TV producers almost always are, to be less critical about the information they receive. But whatever the cause, the media responsibility is to present accurate information shouldn't suffer. Okay, I got two thoughts on this. One, since we do stories, we pick up these stories, and the religious, even the mainstream stuff, they do some terrible things to each other, to their children and stuff. And we report it, we talk about it, it's really bad, the really nasty stuff. I'm so depressed after doing this show sometimes, just from the stories we get. And I'm really hoping, though, that we're looking at an accurate story. I pulled stuff from Huffington Post, and it's like, okay, now I'm beginning to wonder, it lends to our credibility, I guess, what I'm concerned about. But then again, on the other side, we do hear stories about, some of the Jews, what they're doing over there in Israel. They're spitting on women because they're sitting in the wrong part of the bus, and all the crazy shit they are doing. It's like, it's like, okay, I'm hoping, and actually I don't really feel too bad. I'm not too concerned, but it's just that I'm really hoping we're presenting, or at least I am, and I'm sure you are, an accurate story that these people are really as fucked up as they really are. And yes, the Christians, we see what the Christians are doing, or the evangelists, and certainly the stuff the Muslims are doing with the honor killings and the child brides and all that kind of stuff. I'm really hoping that these stories that were like the stories about, these Hasidic Jews that are, they're attacking. I think there's a group that's attacking Muslims in London about drinking, or is that the Muslims going around? But anyhow, one, I'm hoping we're getting accurate information, and that we have this accurate information that we are, we're going after the right people.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, for every single story that I put up, I go out and I check it from multiple sources. And I'm not just talking about everybody puts up the same AP story word for word. I look at multiple people who have researched the same story just to make sure that the story hangs together. Secondly, we are not journalists. We do not pretend to be journalists. We are responding to news stories. We are not claiming that these news stories are correct. I'm not pretending that I am saying, this is the truth, you should believe me. I'm saying this is a story that was reported in the media, and this is my response to this particular story that was reported in the media. And in the past, when we've had issues where we've thought, this may not be true, or this may be something that you ought to question, we've been really upfront and said, we think this is something that you ought to question. We're presenting this as a story and only as a story, and we're not even completely sold on whether or not this story is accurate. I think everybody out there needs to do the same thing with absolutely everything that they read in the media. Because let's be really fucking honest, there is no such thing as journalistic integrity anymore in the media. These people are not journalists. These people are media personalities. They don't give a crap if the news is true. They just give a crap if it gets them ratings. So let's completely get that out there in the open.
Right. I've done that. I mean, when I do my other show, I'm trying to pull in as much information as I can. I'm going through this book now, and I'm like, where's this guy? I don't want anybody buying this thing. It's pretty bad, but it's talking about the Clay Shaw Garrison investigation, and I'm in a section now where many of these news outlets, the big magazines, Time, Newsweek, Look magazine, that I don't think that's around anymore. But from the 60s and 70s, and basically stories being planted in the magazines to discredit Garrison and his investigation. And I'm kind of wondering now, okay, I'm still in that early stage. I knew that there was manipulation. I mean, there was the FBI, and I believe I think it was mostly the FBI. I think the CIA may have also, they had been planning stories, but it was mostly the FBI, and it was against, the civil rights movement, against, Martin Luther King Jr., the FBI, the COINTELPRO. If you follow conspiracies, that's one of the favorites. They like to bring up COINTELPRO, this, counterintelligence program where it's supposed to just discredit, peace groups, race groups. They even went after John Lennon. So it's all a part of that program. So I know that stories can get messed up.
Well, yeah, but they can get messed up. But, the people who were messing up those stories did it on purpose. They knowingly produced bad information in order to mislead people from the truth. In this story, though, I don't think these reporters went out and purposely made up stories about the Hasidic Jews. They just picked whatever they thought would get them some ratings and stuck it on the news because they don't care. And beyond the fact, I was looking at this going, doesn't this sound like a story that would come out of a religious sect? I mean, how many times have you gotten one religious group pointing to another religious group going, hey, look, they're a bunch of baby-eating monsters? I mean, seriously, these people do it with the atheists all the time, although I don't think they're serious when they say they were baby-eating monsters. But they constantly make up bullshit about each other, and then they get mad when somebody does it about them. Yeah, okay. Right.
Yeah.
I agree that they need to have integrity in journalism, and we have absolutely none of that whatsoever today. But there's also got to be a balance between journalistic integrity, saying that these are the actual facts as best that we can ascertain them, and giving the religious a pass. And far too many news stories do that, where they just don't report on the religious. How many stories did there used to be on Catholic sex crimes? Before maybe the mid-90s, how often did you ever see that in the media? You never did. Why? Because they didn't want to piss off the Catholics who are watching their show. So all they gave a damn about was their ratings, and they still do that today. But now they can go after the Hasidic Jews or the atheists or the Amish or whatever. These groups that do not constitute a significant financial segment of their population, well, they can go yell at them. They can piss those people off because those people don't matter to them. Let's be honest, that's why they're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, how many Amish do you know have televisions? I mean, they're not exactly consumers. But yeah, I can agree with that. It's just, I'm old school. I'm an old guy. Used to trust the news. We were talking back in the 60s, Walter Cronkite. I mean, when he said that Vietnam, we weren't going to win Vietnam, I mean, that was a major blow to everything. I mean, the government realized if Walter Cronkite is telling the country we can't win Vietnam, then I think the war is over with. That's what a lot of times people quote. That was the turning point. And because people can trust them. Now we can't trust our media anymore. We can't trust our newspapers because they'll doctor photos. So it's like, and trying to inform people, we're getting back to politics. Fox News, I mean, throwing Sarah Palin up there and all that. I mean, definitely trying to get the Republicans, votes. I mean, if you go through all your local TV programs, you're going to see which stations are going to be promoting the Democrats and which party they're affiliating with. I mean, definitely Fox has always been Republican. CNN, I don't know. I haven't really.
They're pretty liberal.
Yeah. So.
MSNBC, completely far left-wing liberal, all this stuff.
Right. And you can go to your newspaper. I mean, in Chicago, the Chicago Tribune was always the Democratic paper, and the Sun-Times was the Republican paper, I think. I remember. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So if you were, if you were a Democrat and you wanted to hear Democrat stuff, you pick up your Chicago Tribune. If you want to pick up, oh wait, I'm screwing that up. The Chicago Tribune was Republican. Sun-Times was Democrat. So if you wanted your Republican news, you went to the Chicago Tribune all the time, and because you knew it. I mean, I think they even bragged about it when McCormick was running it. That was the thing. Now you don't even know. You can't be 100% sure unless you sit down and read it and says, oh wait, this is Republican claptrap. Oh, this is Democratic claptrap. So you got to understand where this is coming from. But then you get a rogue reporter out there who wants to making up stories. I mean, there's been a few of those where they made up these made up stories about stuff in the Middle East. I think early on in the Syria conflict. Again, I think there was a photograph where they took and they copied an explosion a couple times to make it look a lot worse than it really was. There was just one explosion in the photograph, and they put 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's a TV show, The Newsroom, and the guy that tried to make it look like the United States used chemical weapons in Iraq, and it turned out when they looked at it closely and they saw this timestamp that the guy had totally screwed around with the video. Well, and they fire the guy in the show. This whole idea that trying to get this, the story, to press forward an agenda, that's not news anymore. I mean,
yeah.
News used to be today in Chicago, the city council votes this, and we have a fire in such and such, whatever. That used to be news. Now is Britney Spears still wearing panties, and that kind of crap,
Well, I mean,
that's turned into news.
The problem is, back when Cronkite was around, back when Woodward and Bernstein were around, these reporters actually were reporters, and they went out and they took weeks or months or even years to hunt down these stories and to research these stories. Today, in the modern 24-hour news cycle, you can't do that. There is no breaking news. It's whoever gets it out there first and fastest wins. They don't give a damn if they've got facts as long as they beat the competition to the punch.
Yeah.
So, and plus the other thing I wanted to say about this story is, honestly, who in their right mind watches crap like Breaking Amish and Amish Mafia? I mean, really? And who thinks the stuff is actually accurate? Is there anybody out there who thinks this TV drama crap is actually real?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm amazed. And that's what was the cool part about at the end of this, about them asking the district attorney, why haven't they busted these guys, the Amish for, all these crimes? And they says, they're not doing anything. Yeah. And they haven't done anything.
That's a TV show, you fucker.
Yeah.
People are stupid.
I mean, it's just amazing. And Then they put the snake handlers on. I'm trying to think what else they've been putting on lately. I haven't seen what's next on the list.
I don't know. I don't watch any of it. I don't care. So I'm not that stupid. I'm not their target audience.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of trying to catch the JFK stuff, and sometimes I'm on National Geographic, and that's where they got some of those the preppers and all those stuff, and they'll have the laytest. I'm like, oh God, they're following a family and they're building their retreat. I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, I like this old house and how they kind of learned something from that. This is just people arguing over where to put the barbed wire, and I just had to keep going.
Oh yeah, I don't watch any of that stuff. Can't stand it. Think it's stupid. Think anybody who watches it is an idiot. So.
Yeah, definitely. Or if you want to peel off some IQ points, yeah, watch these shows.
No. I value my IQ too much for that.
Yeah.
Alright, well let's go ahead and move on.
Dozens of DHL employees have found themselves out of work last month. Now one organization is fighting back, filing complaints saying the workers were fired because they are Muslim. WLWT News 5's Curtis Fuller leading the way on this story. He's live in the newsroom with the latest on this group's concerns. Curtis.
Well, good afternoon, Lisa. In about an hour, the Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CARE, will hold a press conference to express outrage over 24 workers who were fired for what the director of CARE says exercising their religious rights. Now, these 13 women, 11 men worked for DHL at the Global Mail facility over in Hebron. CARE Executive Director Karen Dabdu told me all the workers are in the United States legally, either citizens, permanent residents, or they hold work visas. She says they were making about $10 an hour. The workers say the company eliminated what's called their flexible break time, which prevented them from performing their evening prayer. Now, so far, we have not been able to get a response from the company. I can tell you CARE is filing complaints with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission on behalf of those workers. We're going to cover that press conference. As I said, it begins in an hour. We'll keep you updated online at WLWT.com. And, of course, we'll have a full report for you tonight beginning at 5 right here on News 5.
When DHL changed their policies that allowed Somali Muslims flexible break times to bow down and say their nightly prayers, all hell broke loose. More than 24 Muslims lost their jobs and have now filed claims with the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, over religious discrimination. In 2012, there were more than 3,800 complaints filed by Muslims regarding religious discrimination in the U.S. Now, is this really a problem? And if so, how should we handle it? And in this case, and I know we're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but yeah, this is a fucking problem. I'm sorry. They should be given flexible schedules to bow down to their imaginary friend, no matter how stupid I think the whole thing is. But by the same token, there's a lot of states out there who have really made this kind of thing virtually impossible to do. And I don't think it's just DHL. I don't think it's just these companies. I think there's a lot of states out there who are making this kind of religious discrimination not only easy, but pretty much required.
I mean, that's what it's sounding like. I wish, because this is in Ohio, I don't know what they're doing. Of course, I don't need prayer time or anything like that.
Well, I mean, yeah. In California, and this has been happening over the past 2 or 3 years. California passed some laws, or they passed some labor laws that says that an employee's lunch has to come before the beginning of the 4th hour of work, period. All right? If you clock out at 4 hours and 1 minute into your shift, the employer can get fined. They have specifically said you take your breaks at these exact times or else. And I don't know how Ohio is. I have no clue what their labor laws are like. But if they're similar to California, maybe the employers don't have the option to give flexible break schedules to their employees anymore. Maybe Ohio has made it impossible for them to do so. I mean, crap, I know at work we were spending like a huge amount of time worrying about who was taking breaks when, writing people up for making mistakes, firing hard workers because they didn't clock out at the right time, because we were afraid of getting into these huge class action lawsuits. And there are a lot of lawyers out there who are just running around to employees of companies going, well, let's see, exactly what time did you take your break? Hey, you didn't take your break at the right time? Let's sue your employer. This kind of shit happens everywhere in the country, and it's a huge, huge problem. So I'm not going to blame DHL necessarily, because it may not be their fault. I mean, granted, if they can give people a 5-minute cigarette break, they can give people time to go out and bow down to Mecca or whatever. But I think it's a problem when you're getting people who are religious and have these ridiculous requirements of their religion, and then you have governments who are saying, well, hell, we're going to force and insist that people act a certain way. You know, I don't know whose problem it is.
Yeah, that is it DHL. I mean, it's a huge corporation. I'm assuming if it's anything like, Federal Express, I mean, they've got things happening at certain times, so giving religious flexibility may be tough for them. But then again, it could be, I mean, if DHL, I mean, they're based out of Memphis, Tennessee, so it's like they may be forcing everyone to abide by Tennessee law, or whatever, or at least the mentality may be that they're thinking, okay, in Tennessee we got to do this, so that'll be corporate policy. It's like just human stupidity, not really thinking what they're doing. But I mean, I don't know. It could be lawyers. I mean, I love what this guy once said. The company to lawyer ratio. If it's over this amount, you're almost guaranteed to get sued for something. I mean, there's definitely some shady stuff with accidents. I mean, it kind of sucks that, a person gets hurt. I mean, I know one case where the employee got hurt real bad, and, the company that he was doing, he was a contractor, the company that he was doing the work at, they kind of screwed up. I won't go into the details, but, they screwed up and didn't lock out some equipment properly. So this guy got hurt. And, of course, the guy that got hurt, besides getting his workman comp, he was going to sue the client company for, safety violations and that created the accident. So they try to make them responsible. Of course, the client company tells the contracting company, make this go away or you'll never work in this place again. And, it's like a lot of that kind of shitty stuff that's going on in the background. So where does this lie? I mean, it could be everybody. Could be nothing. It's just, who knows? And then once you get lawyers involved, then it's usually game over. I mean, if it's the government, because I don't think Illinois is that strict about, I mean, the company I work for, they've got set hours and break times, and they got to work an extra half hour for smoke breaks, all that kind of stuff. And, but it's selectively enforced, type of thing, so it's until they decide, hey, it's time to cut heads, and then they start enforcing it. It's that kind of crap that goes on there.
Well, see, around here, it's not selectively enforced. It's absolutely, positively, you cannot get away with it enforced, because the government has set these rules up specifically so that they can go around and find the shit out of people and get extra money. That's why they're doing it. And so every damn company out there has to be exactly on the money, because they have to submit all of their work records to the government so that the government can go around and say, well, hey, are you doing it exactly the way we say to down to the minute or not? Then if any of your employees, for any reason, if they happen to miss their window of opportunity for their lunch, you have to write them up. You have to terminate people who do it more than a couple times, because if you don't, you're not showing that you're actually taking this seriously, and then they definitely go after your ass.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how to look at this. I mean, is it DHL doing it on purpose to piss off the Muslims? I doubt it. Or is it the labor boards who just aren't taking religion into account at all? Very possibly. In fact, I would say that's probably the most likely case. But now you're going to have a whole bunch of people filing suit against DHL for something that wasn't even their fault. You're going to have a whole bunch of people filing against the government for something that they're stupid about. I don't get, I mean, there's got to be some way to make this even handed and equal for everybody, but everybody's working at cross purposes. And I think that's why we really do need to talk about this in more detail later on in the show.
Yeah.
Which, actually, we should probably just get your story out of the way and then go talk about it some more.
Let's do that.
I'm grateful that I'm still Reverend Frank Schaefer. It's still there. When I addressed the jury tonight, I gave them every excuse in the book to defrock me immediately, but that did not happen. Now, I'm still wondering what it means, the conditions they've set, but I told them clearly that I can no longer be a silent supporter, but that now I feel I have to be an advocate, an outspoken advocate for all lesbian, gay, transgendered, and bisexual people. We must stop harming beloved children of God in the name of Christ. That is not what Christ asked us to do. He asked us to love our neighbor. He asked us to love and care for our neighbor, and that's what I'm here to do. I am not willing to refuse ministry to anybody. If a gay couple asked me in the next 30 days, if somebody made up their mind that quickly and wanted me to do the wedding, and there's a good reason for it, if they qualify, just like anybody else, yes, I would do it. Nowhere in the Bible does it prohibit a loving, homosexual, and committed relationship.
Methodist pastor found guilty of officiating at gay son's wedding. United Methodist jury Monday night, that would be November 18th, Monday night, found the Reverend Frank Schaefer guilty of violating church law for officiating at the 2007 wedding of his son and another man. The jury will consider his punishment on Tuesday, which could include the loss of his clergy credentials. Oh, yeah.
I'm just going, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's kind of a shame. I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's mixed feelings. Okay, so, a pastor moonlighting. I'm going to make the assumption he was moonlighting to do this and to marry these two, and gets called out for it by the United Methodists, and he can lose his job over it. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel kind of sorry for him because he might lose his job, but maybe this is exactly what he needs to see how fucking stupid Christianity is, or at least the Methodists.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably definitely thinking these people are what was I fucking thinking? That these people we preach love and compassion and all that kind of stuff, and here they are kicking me out because I married a gay couple. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like there aren't other Christian churches out there that would be happy to have him as a minister. So I would be going, well, look, we're going to just stop being fucking fundamentalist and we're going to go join a more liberal Christian denomination. Well, that's a good move to make.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, did you read the comments on this story?
I try not to read comments.
It's just religiously based hate. The entire thing was just, this guy's going to go to hell and fuck the gays and all this other stuff. It's like, Jesus, just leave your fucking name and number. We're just going to go out and put a bullet in your head because you're too fucking stupid to live. I hate those people.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I don't read comments, because it's usually something vitriol, and a lot of these, I'm just going through them now, and they're pretty nasty. So, some of these, and it's like, I love this. Oh my gosh, you're an idiot. I mean, just simple, it's like, oh my God. But,
they're all gonna burn in hell. Bah.
Well, he'll be in good company.
Yeah, really. Well, I mean, honestly, the only places I can see that a religion ought to really be concerned about or to punish a minister is what they do in their church during working hours. What they do on their own time isn't any of the fucking religion's business. None at all. They can go out and be having gay sex on the street. There ain't a damn thing the church should be able to do about it, as long as they're not doing it in the name of the church or in the name of the religion. I doubt this guy was doing that. Like you said, he's probably doing it in his off hours, on his own time. Where did this religion get off saying, well, your ass is mine, you're now a slave to this religion? Fuck you.
Yeah. course, isn't that kind of one of the purposes of religion, to enslave people? I don't know. I mean, this is one of those stories where they treat people. I mean, here we got the Methodists are kicking out one of their own, and because, I mean, the church doesn't support gay marriage. Okay, well, like it or not, Illinois just passed, I think they're supposed to have signed it already to make gay marriage legal in Illinois. The United States this is the wave of the future, and here we got a group that's, they're living in the past. I mean, I know we've talked about that before. It's all this, they want to go back to 2,000 years ago and everything will be perfect. And you got the preaching love and so on and whatever. And here's this guy, he's paying the price for it. And hopefully, I'm just hoping he understands how hypocritical his religion is.
Yeah, but they don't care. They're happily hypocritical. That's the way that religion operates.
Right. But I think having his religion, I mean, this is the national, the United Baptists are saying, you're not Baptist, United, Methodists.
Same shit.
Same shit, different, yeah, but the United Methodists are, it's like, this is his, beliefs, his belief structure is coming out of that group, and they're saying that you did wrong. It's like, well, what did the guy really do wrong? He married a gay couple, on the side, it's like, and of course then his church comes down on him. I mean, I would really hope that this kind of maybe a kick in the head for the guy and saying, hey, wait a minute, everything I believed, or part of what I believed in this church just turned against me. I mean, we believe in compassion, God's love and all that kind of stuff. And
oh, come on. Christianity doesn't believe in compassion. They believe God's gonna send everybody to fucking hell. Where's the compassion? Well,
let's say the New Testament God, not the Old Testament guy. But I mean, what I'm saying is that what he believes, and this is coming down from from this group, is now saying he did wrong. And I mean, I'm hoping it's a kick in the head to say, hey, I might not have been right on this thing.
Oh, clearly he already doesn't think that he was right on it because he went and married his gay son. So apparently he doesn't have a problem with gay marriage unless he's a complete hypocrite. So he's already out of step with the Methodists. He needs to turn in his collar and go find another group that he believes in. And hopefully if this happens enough times where, he runs into problems with the theology of all these different groups, he'll finally say, this whole Christianity thing is just stupid and just give up. This is ultimately a good thing because it's a bunch of religious fundamentalist wingnuts chasing the people who are out preaching their message out of their church.
Yeah.
Cool. Fine with me. Cool.
Well, yeah. Excellent.
Yep. All right. Well, we should probably get on to the main event.
This is the main event.
With the earlier story about Muslims being punished for taking time out for their prayers and the recent main event we did not too long ago about the credibility of religious discrimination, I thought we ought to delve into the issue of real religious discrimination in society. No, I don't think it happens nearly as much as many religious assert, but what happens when it does. I'm no fan of religion, but I am a fan of equality. And I don't think that anyone ought to be unfairly discriminated against and treated differently just because of their beliefs, no matter how stupid those beliefs happen to be. So let's take a couple minutes to step back and look at discrimination in the workplace and in society in general of theists from a conservative atheist perspective. Now, I think religion is just fucking stupid anyway. But let's be honest, we want everybody to be equal. We want blacks and whites to be equal, gays and straights, women and men, the religious and atheists. Everybody deserves to be equal. Granted, I wish religion would just go away, but that's not the case at the moment. So we do need to find some kind of a middle ground where everybody is treated exactly the same, where people are reasonably accommodated for their beliefs. Is this a problem that we're seeing in society? I don't know. What do you think?
Yes and no, because there is definitely legal accommodations. I mean, I'm somewhat under the impression that, at least under federal law, that you have to create a reasonable workspace or workplace, meaning you can accommodate all the religions. You have to make your employee aware that, hey, we will accommodate these holidays. We're going to accommodate, if you need a whatever, you need to bow at dawn to, per thing, whatever you got to do, we'll make whatever concessions, but then there's going to be a limit. And, if you have to work on, if your religion says you can't work on Saturday, we call you in on Saturday, you either work or you lose your job. There's always been that reasonable accommodation. Of course, now what I'm hearing about California, they've taken it to the, not even the nth degree. I mean, what degree would you call that? I mean, it's almost draconian. You gotta be at your desk at this time, and then you can only go from your desk, whatever. You can get rode up because you're 30 seconds late getting to the break room.
Yep, you can. It's really sad. And they have actually started to loosen up a little bit on that because they've gotten so many damn complaints. But, that the law is the law is the law, and they're out there trying to get as much money as they can. All this said, though, I think religions have to be reasonable, too. I mean, it can't just only be the employers. It's got to be the employees, too. And there's a lot of these people I've seen who say, my religion comes first and fuck everything else. Well, then you don't need a job. I'm sorry. And we have to look at the individual situations. I mean, what if that DHL plant had everybody in the plant was a Muslim? Well, you can't shut the whole facility down for 5 minutes 5 times a day so everybody can go bow down to Mecca. It doesn't work that way. There has to be some kind of a reasonable thing that says, I don't care what your religion says, we're going to try. We will do our best to get your whatever religious accommodation you need. But if the business needs you to stay at your desk and work, you're going to stay at your desk and work. I don't give a crap what your religion says. It doesn't matter. I mean, what happens if somebody comes up with a new religion that requires everybody to jump on one foot and yodel for 30 seconds every 10 minutes? Is it a reasonable expectation that the business would let them do it? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the business, it has to be within reason. I mean, if you're a fireman and you can't, lift anything on Saturdays, they could say, okay, well then we just won't have you work Saturdays, but you're going to have to work Sundays through whatever. There could be that, or if you get called in on a Saturday, yeah, you're gonna have to do some work, and, doesn't stop at office workers, but, with, factory workers, a lot of times these, machines, you can't shut them down. You gotta keep them running. So someone has to be at the machine 24 hours a day, or, I mean, especially in refineries, they're run continuously. You can't just all of a sudden everybody in the plant go, do their bows and go do the per thing. If something's going wrong in the refinery, you need somebody there to throw a valve or whatever. You can't have them all out praying. Maybe it's maybe a good thing that they're out praying, though. The way I understood the federal law is that there is there's an expectation of the employer and the expectation of the employee. The employee may be, I think the Jewish faith has all these various holidays. So they've actually said, well, I think one case they said, well, because of the nature of the business, you can't take these 12 holidays. You need to take 4. Okay. So you just have to pick which holidays you want to take, and there's been things like that. So there's got to be, the employer has to have, what they need to meet their needs, their requirements. The employee, has what meets their needs and their requirements. And it shouldn't be a big deal. If you tell them up front, hey, we can allow you a morning prayer and an evening prayer. Okay. You could do it at your desk. You can do it at your workstation, whatever. That's fine. But we can't allow you 2 weeks off for whatever whatever fasting you got to do or whatever that, you got to be here.
Yeah.
Cause that's the impression I have. I mean, granted, now I've learned something about California, so let's say the rest of the country probably has these fairly reasonable requirements, and I'm sure some union rules too are kind of tough, where there's preset breaks and so on, but and that's all part of the contract and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, you're given reasonable leeway in what you can and can't do. I mean, beards has been a big thing. You don't want to have a beard in a refinery. I mean, there's one, it's something to burn if there was a fire breaks out, and number 2 is to be able, if they need to get oxygen on you. You can't have a beard. You gotta get that seal around your mouth. So they say right up front, you can have this kind of mustache, you can have this, you can have these sideburns, as long as you keep that, the seal point around your mouth and nose, you're okay. They would prefer you to be clean shaved because, again, it's, less chance of, burning hair and stuff like that. And there's been some people, their religion requires them to have a beard. So you can't work in a refinery then, and that's what it comes down to. And again, in Illinois, that hasn't been an issue. I'm just kind of, one thing I do remember from California was that everything was bilingual, Spanish and English. And, sometimes it was all Spanish. I'm like, I don't speak Spanish. They're showing me this permit I got to sign on to and I can't read it. I knew what it was. So, okay, I think this is where I'm supposed to sign. But, in Illinois, everything's in English. You have to be able to speak English, read, and understand English. You still speak Spanish. They're not saying you can't speak a foreign language, but you have to be able to do everything in English because all the alarms, all the alerts are in English. So
well, that's how it should be everywhere.
Right. And actually it doesn't sound like it's been a problem. And I've seen work crews, especially the fencing companies, they seem to hire those who speak Spanish. I wonder if it's their only language. But anyhow, as long as there's that, there shouldn't be any problem with any of this. There shouldn't be, the DHL shouldn't be having this problem. Unless, again, there's some goofy laws out there. I'm kind of leaning toward the East Coast having some fairly crazier labor laws, or definitely those with that are heavily union. There's definitely, I'm trying to remember, because it's like, like first break is 8:38. It's like numbers like that. It's like 8:38 to 8:48. It's like, okay, where do they come up with this number? Why can't it be from 9:30 to 9:45 or 9:40? There's a lot of weird stuff out there. So, kind of losing track here, but it's almost like there's definitely ways, and for anybody to get a reasonable accommodation for whatever your beliefs are or your non-beliefs,
Well, in general speaking, yeah, there should be, depending on how reasonable your accommodation needs to be. Yeah. As far as I know, I've never had a practicing Muslim work for me. At least I've never had anybody ask me for any kind of religious accommodation. We're not open on weekends, so the Christians who don't want to work on Sunday don't have a problem. The Jews who don't want to work on Saturday don't have a problem. Nobody's ever asked me for Ramadan or Hanukkah off. Maybe I'm just lucky, but nobody's actually asked me for any of these things. But if somebody asked for Ramadan off, well, I'd have to tell them that they either need to take vacation days, if they have enough available, or if they have no vacation. If I had the ability to let them go, they'd have to take it unpaid. But if I needed them, I wouldn't let them take that time off. My company comes first. Their work comes first before their religion. And that's not discrimination. Most businesses say that vacation is first come, first serve and done at the discretion of the company. If somebody said, I want to take Hanukkah off, which is coming right up, I'd tell you no. Sorry. My needs as a company, as a manager for this company, come before your religious celebrations. And if you think that's more important than working, turn in your resignation and go celebrate your religion. And that's not discrimination. We are talking about reasonable accommodations. And a lot of these people just aren't reasonable.
Yeah. If the person came up in a month or if they blocked it in, say, hey, I need this day off, for religious, that would not be a problem, right? You wouldn't.
Not a chance.
Unless there's a deadline or something like that,
Yeah, if they came and asked me for a specific day off, and I don't give a damn what their reason is, I don't care if it's religious or whatever, I take a look at my calendar, I see if anybody else has asked for that day first. If it's open and clear, if I don't need the person, I will give them that day off. I will bend over backwards for all of my employees to make sure that they get all the time off that they need, as long as it does not affect my ability to run a company.
Exactly. And that's it. There's always those I don't know, they get into a snit over, they didn't think that they needed to ask for time, or I don't know. There's definitely some people out there who, but I'm entitled to this. It's like, no, you don't work for the government. You're not getting a check from the government. You're getting a check from your company. And, they're the ones that are going to say, okay, you wanted that day off? You should have told me a month ago, or because I just gave that day off to this person, or I gave a day, the day's already taken, or there's a deadline happening on that week. I need you here, whatever the reason. I mean, if they could have planned, I think you could definitely plan a lot of, way ahead, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, it's not like you didn't know the holiday was coming.
Yeah, I mean, you own a calendar. I mean, everyone's got a calendar. I mean,
Judaism does not magically spring holidays on you for no reason.
Yeah. But yeah, and, and I think you're agreeing this with there's definitely ways of accommodating whatever is needed. But when you start getting, special interest groups starting to, poke their nose in, I mean, I think we did a story about one of the Christians, and they're feeling discriminated against. And I think we said basically the same thing. No, you're just being a bunch of babies, you're not getting your whatever holiday off. You're being offended by your Muslim in the cubicle next to you doing his morning prayers. If you're getting offended at that, deal with it. People are offended by you leaving or reading your little Bible at your desk all the time or whatever. There's always something offending somebody, I mean, deal with it, type of thing.
Yeah.
We're not discriminating against the religion. It's, if you're not getting your time off, it's because the company or the situation, they need you here. We got a deadline. We're going to start up the new production unit. We need all the bodies we can to, make sure, we need people watching valves. I mean, I know in the refineries when they do they're starting off from a turnaround, they need every asshole and elbow out there. Things are happening fast as things are coming up. And if you don't have enough people out there, bad things happen. 19 people died, in Texas City because during a startup, someone wasn't watching a level on a vessel. Next thing you know, you got gasoline vapors, leaking out of a tank and kablooey, when there's, stuff going on important and you're needed because you're familiar or you're an expert or you're whatever, the company's going to need you there. So if they're starting up on Thanksgiving weekend or Thanksgiving week, you're going to have to be out there getting that unit started up because you got to start it up safely. A couple of years ago, I was working 12-hour days. Holidays was, I think the only holiday I did get, I forget was that around Easter? I don't think I had any holidays. I think, Memorial Day or not Memorial, I'm trying to remember because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff, but we were building a new, hydrotreater. They changed our deadline from December of that year to June or July of that year. I mean, everybody had to be there we were working 14-hour days to get this thing done so it could be online in July. So I kind of missed out on, Memorial Day or Labor Day and, 4th of July.
I work all holidays. I don't take holidays off.
Yeah. But it was just a requirement. We had to be there in July, I had to be there in case something went wrong they were starting up this plant from scratch. I mean, this wasn't a shut down unit. They were bringing a brand new unit online. So they were anticipating all sorts of problems. There was no problems at all. I got to sit around for 12 hours, do nothing.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks.
I do think it's funny that where the religious are sitting around complaining that they're being discriminated against, religious institutions get to discriminate against everybody that isn't part of their religion and nobody else does. I mean, Christian churches, Christian businesses, Christian schools, they all get to say, we're only hiring people who are part of our Christian denomination. They can discriminate legally against anybody they damn well please, but as soon as anybody else wants to do anything that they don't like, they sit around and scream discrimination. I think they should lose that ability to do that. I think they should say, nope, you gotta follow the same damn hiring laws and labor laws that everybody else does. You get no extra rights. You get no special abilities. You just get to be the same as everybody else. Granted, most people wouldn't want to work for these stupid companies because, you know, you're stuck around this religious bullshit all the time, but.
Right. And especially like within the Catholics and their opposition to birth control, and they don't want to pay for, birth control through the health plan. So it's like, I mean, on one hand, you hire these people. I mean, I would think Catholic church, Catholic school, you can hire Catholics, but you're basically discriminating against your own people, employment, I think, and this is the weird thing. When that Chick-fil-A thing was going on with I think that's when it started, and not wanting to serve certain people. I mean, there's certainly a business has a right to how they want to run their business, and I mean the Catholic Church has the right to how they want to run their business. But I think there's got to be something to say, if you're going to hire people to work for you, I mean, what's wrong with getting the nuns back into the churches? If you don't want to give up or provide birth control, get the nuns in there. I don't think they don't sound like the type that'd be out, needing birth control. You know what I mean? But if you're hiring outside your lay Catholics or whatever for teaching your schools, I mean, you're going to have to provide them with birth control, and, you can't just discriminate against them, So, I mean, I guess there's kind of this, I'd like to say that I think we're talking about reasonable accommodations. I mean, what's the big deal with providing birth control to your teachers in your Catholic school? It should not be a big deal. It should be. It really isn't anyone's business what you do at home.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I really think we need to get rid of all of this religion first bullshit anyway. I mean, all the pharmacists who going, well, I'm not going to give anybody a prescription for birth control because it's against my religion. Well, then you know something? Go get another fucking job. I think all of these religious schools should be prohibited from only hiring people who belong to their religion. I think churches outside of like the pastors should be prohibited from requiring that like the secretaries are their religion. If they want to sit around and say nobody can discriminate against us, well, fine. But it's a two-way street. You can't discriminate against anybody either.
Right.
I think we need to be fair to people in employment no matter what. If somebody wants to go out and take a smoke break, I'm cool with that. But you can't say you get to go take a smoke break and these guys don't get to take the same amount of time to go pray. That's fine. But then again, you can't tell people that who are go out praying that somebody else can't go take a smoke break. It goes both ways. If you allow one, you have to allow the other. We spend so much time in this country treating religion like it deserves special treatment and extra rights, and that's just bullshit. If you're at work, work comes first. Your religion doesn't come first, and I don't give a shit what kind of crazy magical nonsense goes on in your head. You're there to work. You're there to make money. For all you believe, your crazy beliefs don't pay the damn bills. If you can't do your job, I'm going to get rid of you. And I don't give a damn if you can't do your job because you got some stupid beliefs or because you're incompetent or because you don't care about your job. I'm going to fire your ass. Religion is never going to be a get out of work free card. And a lot of people treat it like that. Your religion is no more valid than,
anyone else's.
Yeah, or anything else that you've got going on in your head. I don't care if you want to go to the damn beach. Not my fucking problem. You're here to work. I don't care if you want to go bow down to Mecca. Not my fucking problem. I want you to get to work. You got to treat work as more important than the stupid mind poison you got dancing around in your head.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't know. I think we've kind of gone on about this as far as we can go, unless you've got something else to add.
No, I don't think I have anything. I mean, it's just being reasonable. I mean, I guess what it comes down to is just being reasonable. Each person has their own particular needs, and it may not necessarily be religious. It may be something else. You can't just expect that this particular need, I need to be off every other Tuesday. No. And I would think it'd make life a whole lot easier that there isn't this, like what you're talking about in California and in those rules. There are definitely rules, federal laws. I mean, I'm sure every state has various work rules, who counts, whatever who gets paid what, minimum wages, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if it was just real simple and common sense, this company, it does this, it hires this many people, they can do, they can structure their payroll and all that stuff where they can get, 20 holidays a year, just being reasonable. And I think sometimes people like to think, it kind of reminds me of a friend who's like, oh, I should have been Jewish. I can get all these extra holidays. It's like, no, it don't work that way,
Yeah, you wish it did.
Yeah. But, but you basically, it's basically a two-way street. Your employer's going to give you so much. You got to accept so much. I mean, if your employer isn't going to give you anything, yeah, you might have something. But if you're wanting, half the year off, no, that neither of those two are going to work. And I haven't yet worked for a place that wasn't reasonable, where they, if you needed a day off, oh yeah, go, no problem. All my boss wants is some advance notice on when I want to take vacation. And I've already put all my notices in, so. And I try to, if something does start coming up, I try to, as early as possible, let the boss know, hey, I might not be able to come in next Friday, because, whatever. And it's been totally cool. I mean, oh yeah, no problem. And, as long as you got the time, available. And, but if you're taking advantage of it, or the employer decides, well, we think you're taking advantage, you took one too many days off last month, or, whatever, it just comes down to being reasonable. Reasonable expectations of your employer, the expectations of the employee. I mean, I really wish the government didn't have to, but sometimes I guess part of it is, to deal with discriminations. And again, that's the weird thing. I haven't worked for any place that hasn't been that unreasonable with their requirements for time off or whatever, accommodations, so but I guess there's been some places where it's been pretty bad, and you get these laws like you get in California.
Yeah, well, I mean, that has nothing to do with religion. That's all just bunch of liberals being stupid.
Same difference.
Yeah.
It's just the general craziness, this entitlement idea that we're entitled to everything, and for whatever reason, evil corporations, what have you. They press forward these the cult, multiculturalism, you gotta respect cultures and that. So if you need to jump around clanging bells and whatever, and and you got a whole room full of computer programmers trying to work on code, and you got someone ringing bells around you, and that's ridiculous. They want you to think that person's entitled to do that because it's part of their religion or their culture or what have you. And no, I have yet to see any place that has been totally unreasonable about dress codes. I mean, I think that kind of falls into it maybe a little bit. Stuff that the company requires. I mean, an engineering company, they want people to dress professionally. I mean, when I work in the refineries, I'm in blue jeans and a long sleeve shirt. Again, the work I do, I mean, I'm out in the refinery. It gets dirty. I mean, I'm not going to take nice clothes out there and trash them. It's been nothing unreasonable, and I think people need to understand, that there's going to be limits. I mean, if you want to push the limits, get a lawyer. You can do that all you want, but companies are going to start closing their doors because they can't afford the lawsuits, and then, you're back to square one.
Yeah, but they'll just pray for God to provide. That works real well.
Hey, if that's what they want to do, let them live out in a tent out in the middle of nowhere.
I'm entirely fine with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, before we wrap up for the night, I just learned that moments ago, and this is one you probably don't even know about, well-known psychic Sylvia Brown just kicked the bucket.
Bet you didn't see that coming.
Probably not, because she never really got anything right anyway.
Oh my.
Not having a party because she's dead. I'm having a party because she's just so fucking stupid. I mean, when Alex Jones finally dies, and it will not come too soon, I won't shed a tear for that little fucktard either.
No. I mean, granted, it's one less person to make fun of, but,
oh, there's more people behind him.
I'm wondering who's going to be the next Sylvia Brown, who's going to take her take the number one spot.
I don't know. I mean, are this show, she used to be on like Montel and Oprah and crap like that. Are those shows even around anymore?
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know because I'm never home during the day to watch them, but.
Yeah, neither am I, but, I've noticed that, at least in the grocery stores in my neck of the woods, I don't even see the National Enquirer, and she's always there in the first of the, my grandmother was a big National Enquirer reader. So it was always, I was always go through those, and there's always the Sylvia Brown predictions for, 1985, whatever. And
they were always wrong. You could always guarantee these are the things that will not happen this year.
Yeah. But I haven't seen the, National Enquirer in the stores anymore. I don't know.
Well, I think that's probably enough for this week, don't you?
Definitely enough for this week.
All right. For those of you keeping track, this was episode 39 of the Bitchspot Report. You may mark it off on your checklist. Remember, you can keep track of the show and chat with the community on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and our very own website. We'll be back in another week with another show. Count the minutes until we return, and take care.
Right.
You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report podcast with your hosts, Cephas and Mike. You can follow us on Twitter respectively at Bitchspot1 or at JDRipper1962. Please visit our website at report.jdragononline.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/TheBspotReport. We're also on Google+, iTunes, and YouTube. Those links are at our website. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us via email at report@jdragononline.com. Comments, ideas, and suggestions are always welcome. We'll be back next week with another fun and fact-filled episode. Please tune in again.